Welcome, everybody. You know, many today are still finding it very difficult to transition from their previous ways of doing business, such as selling their products or services from a retail store, to capturing business on the internet using a digital storefront. With technology advancing so rapidly, it's imperative that we expand our businesses to a global market and embrace e-commerce. In fact, e-commerce is very quickly becoming m-commerce or mobile commerce. Unfortunately for some, many people still lack the knowledge and patience to make this transition effectively. Today on our show, we'll be talking with somebody who's not only transitioned effectively from brick and mortar to internet, but he's been blazing the trails in one of the biggest markets on the planet. Author and eBay guru Adam Ginsberg's in the house. I think you're going to find this interview with Adam absolutely phenomenal. And he'll be sharing with us his secrets to success, but also stories of perseverance that I think will inspire you in your business and personal life. Stick with us. We have an amazing show. We'll be right back, everybody. I'm here with very successful entrepreneur, speaker, and really eBay authority, Adam Ginsberg. Adam, how are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank
Awesome.
you so much for giving us a few minutes to sit down.
You're welcome.
Now, I know that you're kind of known as the guy when it comes to eBay. You're one of the top in the world. And personally, you've had over $22 million in sales. And with your speaking, I know you've spoke with some of the greatest: Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, Richard Branson. You've shared the stage with many greats. But before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about your background and how you got started in an online business. Were you one of those natural ability 2-3-year-olds that just had a gift, or was there some learning curve for you as well?
Yeah, well, there's a tremendous learning curve. I mean, I started out in the internet age when everyone was working with internet startups, and I worked for a company that ended up going bankrupt just before they went public. So I didn't have very good experiences when I started. And I started an offline business, and then through some experiences with my mom pushing me into selling on eBay, I started that way. And I did almost everything in my power for it not to work. You know, sometimes we have these opportunities and they're in front of us and we just miss them, right? So I pushed away from it because I didn't want to really be in that business. Yeah. And then one thing happened after another, and lots of mistakes, lots of errors, lots of testing and trial, and ended up with some great success.
Let me ask you, in your opinion, how important do you think it is to have computer literacy and aptitude for social media and really just business in general in the day and temperature of today's market?
On the internet, you mean?
On the internet.
I think that's really where eBay is a strength. Because I think there's so many different ways you can make money online. There's social media and so forth. But eBay is so simple that anyone can do it, I think, regardless of their background or their experience or how technologically they savvy or challenged they are. It's almost like eBay's the great equalizer when it comes to making money on the internet.
Well, and I'm not very technologically savvy as well. And I've been actually, first and foremost, I came to actually hear your seminar. I've been sitting in the last couple of days.
Yes, thank you.
And you're right. I mean, I feel like if I could do it, anybody can do it, because you make it so simple. And I've seen people in their 60s, 70s, or maybe even older that are just really getting it.
Right.
So I think that it's a viable option.
I don't know if you've met him yet or not, but we've got a gentleman in the audience today who's 92.
I did not know that.
He's 92. This is his first foray into computers. He went home. He did the homework. Yep. He's online. He's buying already. First time.
Wow.
92.
Yeah. Expound a little bit too. You said that you kind of got pushed into eBay, and I know when we talked previously, you had mentioned something about your mom kind of.
She did. She was selling Beanie Babies on eBay, and I was selling pool tables in my store. And she suggested I take the pool tables and sell them on eBay. And I thought, this is just, there's no way.
Right.
And so really, I didn't want to, first of all, I didn't know how I was going to ship the pool table. Second of all, I really wanted her to be right. I mean, who really wants their mom to be right? And so I put this pool table up hoping that it wouldn't sell, and it sold. It sold for $300 more than it sold for in my store. So right from the very beginning, I knew that there was an opportunity, but I still pushed away. And then through her prodding and almost pressuring me into doing it.
Like, I can't hear this anymore. I'm just going to go
Exactly. I mean, it was really, look, I will do this if you promise to leave me alone scenario. And she said, okay, I promise. And then she just kept, you know, following the process and saying, try this, do that. Wow. You know, there was no coaches back then, except there was her.
Yeah.
So she'd suggest something, I'd say no, then I'd do it, then it would work, then I wouldn't tell her it would work, but she'd see it worked. So she kept offering more and more advice, so that's how I got started.
And before that, like you said, you were kind of running a retail, like a bricks and mortar type
That's right.
business. So let's say something like a pool table. Obviously in the beginning you would have all these thoughts of like, who's going to buy a pool table online, the shipping nightmares,
Right.
Is that at least what you would think? But what are the differences as far as selling a pool table, let's say in a store retail versus online? I'm sure there's some similarities,
Right.
but also many differences.
Well, let's go back. When I first started selling on eBay, buying on the internet wasn't even commonplace.
Right.
So we had the obstacles of not only how do we sell online, but how do we get the average person to feel comfortable buying online, especially a high-ticket item. I think today people are more comfortable shopping online. Right? Everybody goes, "I'm going to buy on the internet."
Yeah.
So that's a good step. But there's some differences when you're selling on the internet. For example, they can't meet you. You can't have a conversation with them. You have to build rapport virtually. You need a lot more in the realm of pictures, maybe even some video, things you can do to get your point across without having to be able to do that face to face. So it's a slightly different environment.
It is. And really, what would you say to today's entrepreneur that's out there right now thinking, you know, I'm on the fence of maybe opening a retail store and hiring people and having all that fixed overhead to sell my product.
Right.
Any advice to give them?
Yeah, not. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's still business to be had at the retail level, but there's so much overhead and so much trial and error. I mean, if you're not a proven commodity, then what happens when you get the lease and you buy the inventory and you hire the staff and you get the merchant accounts and you get the insurance and then the business doesn't work? See, on eBay or the internet, you can do all of that without the associated overhead costs. So if it doesn't work, you can be in a different product in a week. Right. If you've got a 2-year lease in a retail space, you're in that space. And that's the challenge. So online, there's a lot less overhead and a lot less risk. And therefore, the upside potential, I think, is even that much greater online.
So really, you don't feel like eBay is limiting, regardless of what people are trying to sell in terms of products. You feel like that it's a viable option for people and maybe even a better choice.
Absolutely. And I think eBay is a good start. I mean, if we're talking about running a successful business online, eBay should be a piece of it. It shouldn't be the whole thing. You're going to need a website. You're going to need some social media. But for the entrepreneur who's just wanting to make a few extra dollars from their home while they're either looking for work, replacing their income, or not wanting to have a job, it's the best way to start.
Yeah. And certainly you've mastered that. And let's say outside of eBay, in your opinion, what are some of the sites out there for as far as in terms of opportunity for the entrepreneur that people can get involved with despite in not including eBay?
I think it depends on what you're selling. I mean, if you're selling physical products, certainly Amazon is really the other marketplace that's very popular. If you're selling information products like ebooks and digital products, sites like ClickBank are really good for that. So that really depends on what direction that you want to go in.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned Amazon. You know, I'm an investor. We have a book publishing company and other type companies. And just a handful of years ago, we thought of, you know, Amazon, we thought of books.
Right.
But I was I was surprised on the amount of products you had said.
14 million on Amazon.
14 million on Amazon.
Right.
That's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, in fact, more people buy, I mean, it depends on the day, right? It depends on the quarter, it depends on the month. But you can say conservatively that both eBay and Amazon are the #1 and #2 e-commerce platforms in the world in terms of where people spend their time buying. So sometimes eBay is slightly higher, sometimes Amazon is slightly higher, but they're very competitive. They're different in the way they work, but they're very competitive in terms of their online sales. It's amazing what Amazon's done, really.
Yeah, and obviously the farther we go, it's just going to get more so.
Well, in 2012 was the first year ever where more people bought online than offline during the holiday season. And that seesaw balance is shifting more to online, particularly with mobile sales, than anything else. So there's no question that we're in the right place at the right time.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your seminar, because I've been in the seminar business for 16 years, and I've, of course, outside of doing seminars, I attend seminars because, as most entrepreneurs are, we're kind of education junkies.
Absolutely.
You never know where you're going to learn something from. And I have to say, I've learned so much in the seminar, but I've really been picking up on a lot of things that maybe most people wouldn't. First of all, what I really like about the seminar is it's not some guy that had an experience, wrote about it, and now is just hitting the road selling it.
Right.
But you had this great success with eBay. You did write about it, but now you're still doing it. I mean, you're still in the trenches. You're teaching things that you're still doing. Not that it wasn't like a dot-com bubble, but you're basically teaching principles that you're still doing every day. And it's not something that's was a fad, and now it's not the same opportunity.
I mean, listen, the internet keeps changing. So I think one of the strategies for a successful entrepreneur is to make sure that you're staying up with, and if not ahead of the curve. So if we're still doing what we were doing, we're going to get the results that we think we should get, but that we're not going to get. The rules of the game have changed. If you talk to somebody that used to sell on eBay that doesn't anymore, and you say, why? They say, because I'm not making any more money.
Right.
Say, well, what are you doing differently now than you were doing 3 years ago or 5 years ago? Oh, nothing. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So what we want to bring to the table is the latest cutting edge strategies of not just how to use eBay, but how to do internet sales.
Right.
In other words, the philosophy and the mindset of the buyer is what's changing even more so than the eBay plug. eBay changes their rules a little bit. It isn't so much the platform that changes. A title's a title, a description, a picture's a picture.
Right.
It's the sales strategies that we want to keep evolving and bringing forward.
Well, and many people could attend the seminar and say, well, heck, I would have loved to have gotten an eBay when he did.
That's right.
That's usually the case in many seminars.
Right.
It's like, yeah, he's selling this now, but if we would have got it in 02 or whatever.
Exactly.
But you made a great point today that really now's the time that you can actually, is the best opportunity in eBay. Because when you started, I mean, you were really stepping in every hole that you could possibly step in. There was no one to really navigate.
Exactly. I mean, I really think the greatest opportunities in making money online haven't even come yet.
Right.
I mean, back then, there was no PayPal. Now, of course, eBay owns PayPal, and PayPal is a thriving organization in of itself. People didn't know what the internet, people used to be afraid to buy online. Security risks, security challenges. We were creating and inventing as we went. Now buying online is second nature, especially with the younger generation. I mean, most people, my 8-year-old, he wants something. He says, let's go to eBay or Amazon and look it up. He doesn't even think about, take me to the store. He says, let's go Google it, let's find it, let's go online and buy it. He's never going to have any doubt whether or not he should be buying online or not. So the demographics of the shoppers online are changing as well. So opportunities are plentiful.
Endless. Well, and two, I think that an entrepreneur, or let's say, in your case, let's say a product, really, is only as good as their team is. And you're not a one-man band that's out there teaching people how to do online sales successfully.
Right.
But I mean, you're traveling with like a whole crew of successful people that are not on stage, and they didn't just read your book, but they're in the trenches every day too, constantly figuring out how to refine their businesses and then sharing with the audience.
We've got a continually growing team, and they're all students of the product. So they're product of the product. They go out, they make money. They say, listen, we want to be on your team. We're a success story. We want to work with you, travel with you, and that's how we grow. We grow from within instead of hiring from without.
Well, I have to admit, originally coming to the seminar, I thought, first and foremost, I mentor a lot of young kids. I'm involved in a program called the YEA, Young Entrepreneurial Academy, where I mentor many kids. And, there's a lot of people out there that don't have, maybe in the meltdown in 08, they hurt their credit. Maybe they don't have any capital. They're looking to start something on their own and have a great opportunity, but they just don't have a lot of money to get started. I thought, I could really go there, learn this, and then teach it to so many kids, and I still believe that, but now I'm actually looking at it from more of a selfish perspective. Wait a minute, man. This is something I want to do also.
Absolutely. I mean, the opportunity for young people, we live in a society where we have $1 trillion in student loan debt. People are going to college, they're getting in debt, they're unable to get a job when they graduate, and the ones that can get a job have to pay off all these student loans. I mean, it's a challenge. So we can teach young people how to be entrepreneurial and how to start to make money at a young age. We change the whole world.
And it has to start young. And as a matter of fact, you mentioned somebody in the seminar being in their 90s, but I actually saw some kids in there today.
We have 11 people in the event that are under 18, ages 11 to 17. And we invite people to bring their kids with them, not knowing that the kids, we call them tech support.
I was trying to look over on the screen.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, we got the young people wandering around the room, working with the people that are a little technologically challenged. So they get the computer part of it. They don't get the business part of it.
Right.
They don't get the entrepreneurial aspect of it yet, but they're learning it very quickly, and that's part of what we're doing. It's great to see when people bring their kids with them and want to do it together as a family.
Well, and as you mentioned, you know, I think it's so important to have this shift mentally in this country particularly, because obviously we're living in a generation where there is a lot of entitlement, people feel like, but there's so many people out there that are still along the lines of, you know, going out, getting these degrees for which most of them don't use, but they're getting these degrees and then they're out asking people for a job instead of getting the necessary education and skill sets young and then saying, hey, what about maybe creating my own job? Or hey, maybe what about going out and creating jobs for others?
Right. Well, I'll give you an example. My daughter's in the 10th grade, so she's in the process of figuring out where she wants to go to college. So I said to her, what's top on your list? She said, Princeton. I said, can you please pick a less expensive school? Princeton's $96,000 a year and growing at a rate of 3%, right? But at 16, she knows how to sell on eBay. She's got a passive income stream from our internet trading, from our e-commerce trading program of between $300 and $400 a month. So she pays for her own car insurance. She's got an income coming in that's only going to grow. Her friends are getting babysitting jobs and working at restaurants. She doesn't have to work at all, except a few minutes a week every night from home after her homework is done. Between that and Facebook, she's able to squeeze in some internet work time. And she's creating this entrepreneurial business for herself so she can go to school, enjoy it, not have to worry about getting a job when she's done, and pay her bills as she goes. And like I said, it changes everything when you come from that place than from a place of entitlement.
Yeah, that's right. And certainly by you taking the necessary action to get the right education, now you're able to pass that down, which is so many of us didn't have that example. We're the ones trying to figure it out.
Exactly. And school should be for fun. You should be able to order extra cheese on your pizza if you want it. I mean, you should be able to have a good time and not worry about things. That's what college is all about anyway.
Let's talk a little bit about the book.
Sure.
I'm more than halfway in. I'll actually finish it by tonight.
Okay.
101 Secrets of an Auction Millionaire. And I'll tell you, there's so much I really liked about this book. Obviously, you share, you know, some success stories. You've had many success stories that are well documented. But in the book, there's really the nuts and bolts of exactly what you need to do. And really not what you need to do, exactly what you're doing still. But what I also really liked about this book is you're very vulnerable in the book, and you even not only share your successes, everybody shares their successes, but you share a lot of your failures as well, especially in the beginning of eBay. I know that you said that you got banned a couple of times from eBay.
Absolutely.
Not from any bad intentions on your part, but really, as we stated, there was nobody at that time like yourself.
Well, I didn't even know eBay. I didn't even know eBay had rules when I started. So I mean, I didn't intentionally break them all. I just broke them all. And what's fascinating is that when you break one of eBay's rules, they say you've broken one of their rules, but they don't tell you which one. So you go back and you say, okay, I want to do it right. What did I do wrong? And you can't even figure that out because then, you know, they just don't tell you. So it's an interesting learning curve to get through all of that. But it's a good book. I think coming to the seminar is a good thing. I think reading the book and then coming to the seminar always helps because you get that hands-on experience. But thank you. It's
fantastic. And, you know, like I said, you not only give them the nuts and bolts, and here's what you need to be doing, and there's graphs, and it shows you in a very simple way. But again, you kind of are taking them by the hand and navigating them through all the potholes that you've had to step in.
Well, I think there's so much hype out there that the more real we can be, the better we can frame in everybody's expectations that you're going to have successes, but you're going to have failures. And the only way to be successful is to get through the failures. It's really easy to give up when things happen. And things are going to happen we can't plan for. So what are we going to do? Are we going to give up, or are we going to just keep pushing forward and figure it out until we're done? And that, I think, is part of what we bring to the table. It's not just the how to do it, but here's all the things that we've learned, and don't do these things so you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
I'm getting a crash course right now in e-commerce. But you had mentioned earlier in the seminar that you had been over, you were in South Africa.
That's right.
And some of the opportunities in those other countries. And I was over in South Africa a couple years ago. We were in the country of Zimbabwe, and they had just went through hyperinflation, and then a lot of them, as you know, will adopt a stronger currency, US dollar, British pound, whatever. And then as soon as that happens, it's like a race for everybody to get on the ground.
That's
like,
right.
We need cell towers, we need this and that.
That's right.
And it was so weird because we got on, nothing's going on. We get on and everybody had a phone in their hand.
It's unbelievable.
And so really where you feel like everything's heading now, instead of e-commerce, is m-commerce.
M-commerce. It's all about mobile. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was no iPhones, Android devices. Those things didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now with the number of people accessing the internet, I mean, you look at, as an example, Facebook stock. The reason it's come down is because they haven't figured out how to monetize their mobile traffic. So much of Facebook now is mobile, whereas eBay stock has gone through the roof because they own the mobile space between eBay and PayPal on a mobile device.
Right.
So we want to be targeting, as we're making money online, we want to be targeting mobile users. I mean, that is the future. There is no question about that.
I think that there's no question either. And you know, for the entrepreneur out there to say, you know what, I'm convinced I'm going to get your book. I want to get into not only eBay, but maybe some other opportunities for online marketing.
Right.
What advice would you give maybe a viewer if they wanted to get started?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. First of all, if they want to get a copy of the book, they can go to the website promoteadam.com. So promoteadam.com, and they can get a copy of the book. That's the first place to go. I would say the most important thing is decide you're going to do something.
Right.
Because if you do nothing, you get nothing.
Yeah.
And if you do nothing, you go nowhere. And people wait for things to happen. We need to go out and make them happen.
That's right. Create our own opportunities.
That's right.
So you've accomplished so much. You're still a fairly young guy.
Fairly young.
What's next for Adam Ginsberg?
We're enjoying what we're doing. I mean, we're from South Africa to Singapore to Malaysia to Australia, all around the world, really helping people make a difference in their lives. It's an opportunity for me to give back. I wrote a book called The Legacy Effect, which is really all about creating the concept that what we do matters. And that as we get older and we think about what we're going to leave behind, let's think about that now so we can make a difference for future generations. So that's why I'm traveling all around and trying to give back as much as I can.
Yeah, well, you're certainly doing a great job at that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
It's okay. I'm going to sit in the seminar a little
Great.
the next couple days.
Let's do it.
Get as much as I can. The book is called 101 Secrets of an Auction Millionaire by Adam Ginsberg. And guys, that's our show. Don't forget to get involved in your local community and be forgiving of others. Good night, everybody. Hi, I'm Dan Vega, and thank you for watching our channel. I want to take a second to tell you about a resource that's helping thousands of people across the country, Blue University. Blue University is the premier online business school for entrepreneurs and business leaders. You know, if you find yourself in a day-to-day grind where you've lost your joy or you're just tired of struggling, then check out blue.university. That's BLU.university. I can promise that you receive nothing short of a multi-million-dollar education. And if you want a completely different life in 3 to 6 months and a way to create wealth in 5 years or less, then again, check it out. That's BLU.university. Find out why blue is the new color of success. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel or to give us a good rating, but that's only if you see value. And when you do receive value, make sure to share it with someone else. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.